So here I am late at night. When I say late at night, I'm still at work. It's just ticking over about 7 p.m. or thereabouts. I'm the last one in the office today. Had a very long week. Managed to kick some goals and things like that, which is always good. Now, during the course of the week, some questions were asked about, how do you see the future and things like that, and how do you keep going when you're dealing with adversity. Now, the interesting thing is some people have their opinion on how to deal with adversity, and it typically looks like, I'll wait for something bad to happen and then I'll deal with it when it happens. Now, that's one way of dealing with it. There are those individuals who, instead of actually thinking about how they're going to deal with it, they sit there and they play the what if game. What if this happens? What if that happens? So they spend a lot of energy and a lot of time thinking about things that actually never happen. So, which of those two is the best way of doing it? Do you spend all of your energy, or do you not spend all your energy? And you might think it's actually a pretty safe bet that you wouldn't waste your time playing the what if game. But I wonder how many of your friends play the what if game. Do you play the what if game? The what if game can help you to strategize when you're thinking about ways of moving forward on a project, but it's certainly not good when it comes to catastrophizing, thinking about what could possibly go wrong. And it gets a lot worse and compounds when you think about other people who are in your life, and what if they do this and what if they do that. So it goes from just what if you do this, or what if you do that, or what if it happens to you, to what if it happens to them as well. So my recommendation is you take it at face value. If a problem presents itself, you work for the quickest, most effective solution. But my rule of advice is to always have a backup plan. You never know how things are going to go. Sometimes they go exactly as you plan. Sometimes they don't. They go horribly wrong, and you have to completely re-strategize. But when you have a backup plan, a what if to your plan, and this, I should say, it allows you to go in with a bit more confidence. So if your first idea that you put forward, or your first plan of attacking something, doesn't work out, you're not taken out for the count, you're just winded. And it allows you to pick up and go with plan B. So what's something in your life that's been bothering you, that you've been worrying about, that you haven't perhaps given time to think about a plan B? You don't need a plan C, you don't need a plan D, you don't need a plan E. If problems come up and they're that horrendously wrong, then you worry about it. But get into the habit of having one line of attack, plan B, and that's it. Now, plan B does not have to be an overbaked thing. You need to work out on how can you have faith in yourself that you're making the best with the decisions you have on hand. And sometimes we make bad decisions, sometimes we don't. Don't catastrophize, and don't think the worst is ever going to happen. Now, on a separate note, I was approached today, and somebody who has qualifications in nutrition and everything like that, they came up to me and they said, Andrew, what's going on with you? And I said to them, what are you talking about? And they said, well, in the last week or so, it looks like you've lost a lot of weight. And of course, you may or may not notice that, yes, losing a lot of weight. Typically people lose weight when they get things like cancer. But, I decided enough was enough, and it was time to go back to, I guess, the fit way, the fit mentality. And that involves actually helps to know about nutrition. So I was talking to them about things like medium chain triglycerides and things like that, and explaining what I would consider to be basic nutrition to a nutritionalist. And they were frantically writing down notes. The fact is, once you understand how something works, you know the rules. Now, how does this relate to having a plan A and plan B? Know your system. Know the variables, so in a business sense, know the system is know the business. The variables would be the people in the business, or the product, or the processes. If you're at university, well, the university is the organisation. That's the thing. The variables would be your lecturers, your students, your topics, things like that. when you get an idea of system versus variables, things that move, you can actually start to strategize a what if plan that actually makes sense and saves you a lot of energy. And it's just as extremely easy to then come up with a plan B. So think of a problem that's in your life. Think about the system and then think about the variables. If you're having a relationship trouble, the system is obviously the relationship, the relationship itself. The variables are the person. Or you could break it down to the emotions or the responses or the habits, the behaviors of the person. And you can start to look at the bits and how they function. This is sort of entry-level matrix stuff, but sometimes we need to go back to basics. Once you can start to pull apart things like that, you can start to look at how they all interact. And if you know how things are going to interact, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be much more prepared for when shit hits the fan, and you'll know how to respond without all of the stress releases, stress systems and takedowns and things like that. So, short video. I've rambled a bit, but again, it's 7 p.m. and I've been going pretty heavy this week. So, without further ado, take care of yourself, and I'll catch you in the next video.